Good evening, everybody. Let me get myself on the screen for a moment and get back here. Fantastic. Hello, everybody. So I am Greg Venning. I'm your webinar host for tonight, and I'm going to take you through a beautiful journey through the philosophy of food. And just to give a few people time to arrive, and also to let you know that when I do this, it can feel a bit lonely doing a webinar from here, because all I see is me on the screen. I can see that there's people here, but I can't see you. And that might be quite cool because you might be in your jammies, and that's cool. But what I'd love you to do, please, so I can see who's here, is in the chat box. So in the chat box, in the chat section, could you please pop down where in the world you're joining us from? We have some people who registered from different places around the world, and I'd love to know where you are listening to us from, watching us tonight. So in the chat section, please put down where you are joining us from, so I can know, I can kind of connect with you guys there, because it can be quite lonely when you do these webinars. I love doing it and I love teaching, and it's lovely to be able to kind of see faces. We can't quite do that. In the age of COVID, we've had to do this more and more. So we've got Shayla from Joburg, Sharon from Joburg, great, Aline from Cape Town, beautiful, Pixie from Marina de Gama, Tinny's in Cape Town.
If you want us all to see you, you can click, it should be on all panelists at the moment. And if you click on that and change it to all panelists and attendees, then we can all see where everybody is. Hi, everybody, I'm Ailey. You may have also seen my face in some of the videos for the webinar tonight. And I'm keeping Greg in line this evening.
and yes, this is recording, else it is recording, so you can check on that one. We've got more from Cape Town, Bergfleet, we've got Ingrid in Joburg, we've got Cape Town, we've got Somerset West, hello Pam, we've got Candice in Cape Town, we've got Gary and the Clacks in Paul, Jürgen in Cape Town, Jennifer in Cape Town, beautiful. All right, Brenda is in Cape Town as well. Perfect. So we've got a few more people who'll probably join us in the next while, but I'm just going to get a few things ready and then get going. Okay. Hey, we've got Jason from New Jersey in the USA. Hello, Jason. Good to have you on, man. I know we had a couple of people in the UK and France register, and some people might be wanting to catch this on the replay, and that's cool. But remember, everybody who's here live tonight, you guys get the free bonuses. Yes. So you've got to stick around to the end so I can show you how to get those as we go through. Okay, so we're almost 8:05, and even though we're in Cape Town and we give people lots of time because we run on African time, and Cape Town is a specific version of African time, we're going to get ourselves running. And so what I'm going to do is get that up, and here we are. Beautiful. Okay, so let's start where we are now. The philosophy of food. Now, there's a very specific reason why we've called this the philosophy of food, and I want to get into that in just a little bit. The first thing I want to get into is I want to help you to connect with why you're here tonight. You've decided on a Wednesday evening to devote 90 minutes, an hour and a half, to listening to some crazy guy ramble on your screen on a webinar. So do this with me. Now, please close your eyes, wherever you are, as long as you're not driving. Close your eyes, or operating heavy machinery, or cooking, but anything non-dangerous, close your eyes. And I want you to give yourself a score for your own health. Now, if you've done this with me, please do it again. It's so valuable every time we do this. Give yourself a score for your own health and well-being. Now, wait till you hear what the numbers mean. If your score is between 8 to 10 out of 10, that's what we call the vitality zone, where moods are great, energy is great, focus and purpose is great, your body's performing well, your mind's performing well, you're feeling great, and you're functioning really, really well in the world. The vitality zone. That's 8 to 10 out of 10. If you're at 7 out of 10, 6 out of 10, then most days are up more than down. Energy's more up than down. Mood's more up than down. Your body's not quite as good as maybe it has been, or as good as you'd want it to be. Maybe not as mobile. Maybe there's a bit around the middle that's not shifting, but it's not that bad. you don't feel it's that bad. Then you get to 5 out of 10, where nothing's quite wrong, but nothing's quite right either. When you start getting to 4 and 3 out of 10, now your days are more down than up, energy more down than up. You're really not happy with mind or body. You might have some conditions starting to show through, maybe some early diabetes, maybe some aches and pains in joints that just aren't shifting, maybe some mental and emotional spaces that aren't maybe really, really bad yet, but they're there and they're bothering you. That's at 3 and 4. At 2, now we're starting into conditions are probably there. Maybe IBS or ulcerative colitis or some kind of arthritis or full-blown diabetes. We might even be getting into the zone as we get down to 1 where we have a diagnosed cancer. These kind of things showing up as we get lower and lower. And if you were at 0 out of 10, you wouldn't be on the call with us. So give yourself a score for your own health and be brutally honest with yourself. From 0 to 10. Okay. Now, if you're okay with this, I'm going to ask, who out there would give themselves a score of about 8 to 10 out of 10? It's okay to put your score down. If you really don't want to, that's okay as well. But who would give themselves a score of about 8 to 10 out of 10? Anybody there? Okay. Anybody here give themselves a score of about 5 to 7, somewhere in the 5 to 7 range? Who would give themselves a score at about 5 to 7 out of 10? So a couple of hands going up, a couple of people putting their scores in. That's great. Okay. Now, who here is it maybe below 5, 4 or below? If you don't want to put it in there, you don't absolutely need to. You can either do the hand raise or you can pop your score down in the chat section. So we've got a couple of hands going up for being below 5. Okay. And I'll tell you, when I do this, and I do this for literally for audiences around the world when I've been able to physically travel and speak more freely for hundreds of people in a room at a time. And when I do this and I ask people to raise their hands, most people on average are somewhere between 5 and 7 out of 10. Somewhere between 5 and 7 out of 10. But now the problem with this is, the problem with having a score of 5 to 7 out of 10, the problem with that is, if I come up to one of those people in the audience and I say, are you healthy? The answer, the vast majority of the time, is yes. Most people will say they're healthy if they're at 5 to 7 out of 10. But this is a massive problem. This is a massive, massive problem. This means that we think that not being sick is the same as healthy. We think that the definition of health is just the absence of symptoms. But think about this. People can have cancer and not feel anything wrong. You can have heart disease and not feel anything wrong. You can have tooth decay and not feel anything wrong. You can have high blood pressure and not feel anything wrong. So the way we've been thinking about this health thing for a long time is a big, big problem. And you're on this call because in some way, shape or form, you believe that getting more health in your life, being more vital in your life is going to give you something. You're going to help you to be happier in some way. You believe that being on this call in some way might give you a nugget of gold that can take you forward to help you to be more fulfilled in life, to be more well in life. And I sincerely have that in mind for you. Tonight, I'm hoping to deliver great value so that you can take at least one, but hopefully much more than that. At least one thing forward that you can do better in your life after our time today. So I'm going to ask you to do something. You can either sit and listen to me and have Facebook in the background and maybe your phone, and you'll be getting a few things, but when you get off this call, nothing really changes. Now you can do that, and I would call that the jacuzzi experience. That's like being in a jacuzzi, and it's cool while you're there, but when you get out, nothing changes. Or you can choose to make this a pivotal moment or a transformative moment, where you decide now that you're going to find one thing, at least one thing out of what I'm going to give you tonight that you can take away to do something different after today. And this is entirely your choice. I'm going to be here. I'm going to be giving my heart and soul. It is up to you to decide whether you want a pivotal or transformative experience or whether you want a jacuzzi experience. If you would like the pivotal, the transformative one, I'm going to ask you, please, all the tabs in the background, whatever's taking your attention away, your phone, just put those off. 90 minutes, or maybe 80 minutes of your time from now, where you can take at least one thing away that'll make your life different and move the needle in the direction of more happiness, more fulfillment. Now, that definition of health that we just demonstrated that we all have in our minds. Now, we might know it's not the official definition of health, but it's the way we act. It's not what we think we know that counts. What counts is how we act, what we actually do, because that is what demonstrates our values and our beliefs more than what we say. So the way we act is far more important than what we say. And if you put your score at 5 to 7 out of 10 and you thought that was healthy, that shows what is happening in society. And I believe that is a massive point of being lost. And I call what we do around this conventional confusion. People often say, oh, conventional wisdom will get us through. That's not right. Conventional confusion will get us lost. And I believe we are lost in a large extent when it comes to real health and well-being. So let me show you how we get there. So what happens is, when we first come into life, when we're young, oh, let me go back a little bit. When we're up here, when we first come into the world, we have a very high level of health potential going on. Babies come into the world, and barring any problems with the birth or any congenital issues, babies are really healthy. They have a high level of health potential. And from then on, through our life, there's one of two things that can decide how well we express that health. The first one is a stressor. So the first thing is something that might bring your health down or break you down over time. So as you're sitting there now in your own life, think of the things that might break you down or bring you down over time. So one of the first things that often comes to mind is something physical, a physical injury of some sort. Maybe you realize that sitting for a long time is a stressor. It brings our health down, and you'd be absolutely right. So that's one category of stressor we call a physical stressor. Another one you might think of when you think of the word stress is, obviously, we often think of mental and emotional stress coming to mind. Work, family, finances, relationships, children, parents, school. These are stresses in our life, mental and emotional stresses. Now, often when we think of the word stress, we only think of mental and emotional stress, but that's not true. We get three types. I've covered physical stress. We're talking about mental and emotional stress. And the last one is what we're on the call for here tonight, is chemical stress. Chemical stresses can bring our health down. Now, the great news, the absolutely fantastic news for you, because I've just told you that these are acting on us literally from the day we're born and before that, but the fantastic news is one fight with your spouse or your parents, one cheeseburger, just a couple of hours of sitting down and one little injury does not kill you. That's the fantastic news. One cheeseburger doesn't kill you because we have resistance. Our mind body has this innate ability to heal and repair and grow and coordinate and function beautifully. We have this resistance that's resisting these stresses. So if this internal resistance and these stresses were evenly matched, we would express a high level of health through life. There'd be ups and downs, maybe a little down and an up, but generally our life would be up at the top. But in society as we have it, in the way we do life right now, these stresses far outweigh this resistance. And so what happens is, gradually, over time, these stresses decrease our function. Now, we don't really feel this. We don't really notice it. Things might not be as good as they were, but you know what? We look around us and everybody around us is at this level. So we carry on going and we live our lives and we accumulate more stress, more stresses, and more stresses until we cross through a line. And once we cross through this line, we start to get symptoms of some sort. And when those get bad enough, then we go and look for help. Now, I am a chiropractor. What I do every day is I do chiropractic care in our practice. And I'm going to tell you why that's important in a second, and why the fact that I'm not a nutritionist. Now, I've got some training in nutrition and biochemistry and all of that, but the fact that I'm not a nutritionist, we're going to get to that. So you might go to a chiropractor, say you had a headache. You might go to a physiotherapist. You might go to your GP. You might go to a naturopath. You might go to a homeopath. You might go to somebody, but you're seeking help. You've gone to seek help. Now, imagine you went to your GP for a headache. You've had these stresses that have built up over time, and say your headache is the thing that comes through. And you go and see your GP. Now, if you went to your GP for a headache, what would you expect, on average, a GP would give you for a headache? What do you imagine? a pill of some sort. Now, if you're in South Africa, you might say it's Panado. It's a GP's choice. Yeah, there's a paracetamol. Now imagine you take that pill, that paracetamol, and it takes your headache away because they're quite effective at that. But now here's my question to you. You've taken a paracetamol for a headache. Here's my question to you. Was your headache ever caused by lack of paracetamol in your body? Was your headache ever caused by lack of paracetamol in your body? And as soon as we ask that question, the answer is no. It's obvious the answer is no. But it's crazy to think that that's actually how we think. So what happens is we've covered over the problem. We haven't got to the cause. So in 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months, or 2 years, guess what comes back? Another symptom, maybe the same one, maybe a different one. And we think this is a new occurrence, but actually we've dropped down below the line the whole way through. And then that happens again and again, and maybe paracetamol doesn't cover it. Now you need a higher dose and you need 2. Then maybe you need a tramadol, you need something opioid. Now you need combinations of drugs. Now you need some neuroepileptic drugs because they're so strong. These headaches, these migraines are getting worse and worse and you can't get any relief. Because we've been numbing the problem while it's been getting worse. We've been treating the symptom while the problem's been getting worse. We've been mopping up the puddles while the leak in the roof got worse. Now, the really scary thing is that this is what we call the healthcare system. This is a massive paradox to us. This model of doing your life is what we call the healthcare system. This is not a healthcare system at all. This is a sick care system. And there's absolutely a place and a time when a sick care system is right. There is absolutely a place and a time when this will save your life. But it is a sick care system. It does not create health. And that's going to be one of our major things we're going to talk about tonight is what is the difference between treating disease, treating sickness, and creating health? Because they are 2 very different things. Now, in this time of Corona, we actually have an amazing lesson to learn about this because we thought we were doing one thing. And this is one of the reasons why so many people are surprised and traumatized by what's happening in society right now with the SARS-CoV-2 virus that's causing COVID, is we thought that we had strong roots. We thought that we were healthy because maybe we just weren't sick. But guess what? The storm has come through and it's shown our roots to be weak and shallow. And that is traumatic. And there's lots of people who are suffering. I'm not making light of anybody suffering in the state. But this is what it is showing us. This is what is happening. This is why there's so much going on. Excuse me as I break my lighting. Okay. So our roots have been shown to be weak, and that's not a nice thing to discover. That's not nice. So this is literally, I go on a walk most Saturdays in the forest on the side of Table Mountain, and this is exactly what happened a couple of weeks ago. There was a big storm that blew through, and this is a massive blue gum tree. These trees get up to 20 meters high. They are towering, huge trees. This one came down, took 2 others down with it. Is that not just a perfect metaphor for what's happening nowadays? I walked along the path another 5-10 minutes, and we come across this beautiful tree. Look, these are roots we can see. Look how deep these go. Look how strong these roots are. This tree is not coming down in a storm unless it's huge. So really tonight, I want to help you to figure out, are your roots as deep as you think they are? And if they're not, how do you make them deeper? And if they are, how do you make them deeper? How do we create more health? How do we create more health? Think of it this way. If you have, say you get a cut on your arm, and you put a Band-Aid, a plaster, you put a plaster, a Band-Aid over that cut. Does the Band-Aid do the healing? Even imagine you needed stitches. Imagine you cut your arm and you've got stitches. Do the stitches do the healing? Maybe you had such a big cut you needed a shot of antibiotic, you needed a shot of penicillin, and stitches, and a Band-Aid. Does the penicillin, do the Band-Aid, do the stitches? Do they do the healing? And I'll answer your question. I'll answer this question for you. If it's not a clear answer for you, that's cool. Imagine this. Imagine I took a piece of steak and I put stitches in it and I gave it penicillin and I put a Band-Aid over it. Is that piece of steak ever going to heal? No. These things might be useful as sick care, as treating a disease agent. They might be buying you time to allow healing to happen. They allow healing to happen from the inside out. These outside in measures, like a pill, like a shot. like stitches. They do not do the healing. Health does not come from them. They might buy you some time. If you had a broken arm with your arm sticking through and blood pulsing out, absolutely, you need stuff on there to stop that from getting worse. But guess what? That does not do the healing. The healing happens from the inside out. It's a much longer term process. So I'm going to introduce you tonight to the 4 myths that make up that sick care system. We're going to relate it to your food and your nutrition so that you can break free of the paradox and not be caught out like a tree that thinks you have deep roots. Like a whole lot of us in society have been caught out thinking that things were healthy and good. And actually now we have this pandemic comes through that shows us actually things aren't that good. And it's a shock to society. It's a shock to individuals. I want to help you to make sure that you can navigate your way past this, not just now, but in the future, because we're going to create health, not treat disease. Now, as I'm saying all of this, I said earlier, I am a chiropractor. That's what I do every day. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that at the end so it makes more sense. But the reason why that's important to you, the reason why that's valuable to you is I don't have the outside-in training. I don't have the training of most of healthcare that is based on treating disease, which again is useful. But you've had that information coming out your nose. When nutritionists have studied that and given you stuff, you've had it coming out your nose. You've had doctors, you've had all these people telling you what to do. It's a very superficial layer, just telling you what to do. If you needed more of what to do, you could pick up a magazine, you could read a news article, you could read anything on a website. You wouldn't need to be with me tonight. So we're going to cover some of the what, but that's not what you need. We're going to cover the how, like how would you make lifestyle change? We're going to cover some of that, but that's also not the most important thing to you. The most important thing to you is why. The most important thing to you is what are your values and your beliefs? What are the systematic processes that are happening in your mind around food that drive how you do things and then drives what you do? The base of that pyramid is not have another diet and here's what to do and here's what not to do. It's your relationship with nutrition, with food, with yourself, with your own health and your well-being. That's where, as a chiropractor, I have a perspective that's maybe unique or new or different and valuable to you. And then I've done extra training. I'm a certified wellness professional. I'm an author of a book. So I've got all of this other detail to add to this context to you. So stick with me through tonight and we'll give you a slightly new paradigm to be able to play with. Now, is everybody still with me? In the chat box below, please put yes if you're with me. If you're not with me, put no as well, even though that means you're with me. In the chat box, some hands going up. Beautiful. In the chat box, say yes. Beautiful. Thanks. Jaron, Pixie, good. Ingrid, good. Justin's with us. Brenda's with us. Lorna's with us. Jason, Carolyn, Pam, Miriam, great. Perfect. On we go. Okay. Now, I know I get a bit excited and I know I get a bit riled and I know sometimes I speak quickly, but stick with me on this. Stick with me on this. So the first myth of the sick care system is that not sick equals healthy. We think that simply not having any conditions, any symptoms is the same as being healthy. That is the same as the man who jumps off a 50-story building, is 49 stories down and says, I still don't feel anything. Taking the paracetamol for a headache is mopping up the puddle, is not fixing the leak in the roof. And it's because we follow this system. It's because we've been ingrained in the system. It's because, to the best of intentions, our parents did this. They didn't do this to us because it was done to them and to them and to them. There's a whole systematic process in ingraining us in this. Think of this very simple line that happens. And again, I'm a parent and we do this with the best of intention. You fall, you graze your knee. You need a plaster, you need a Band-Aid. Somebody you love, somebody you respect, like a parent or a teacher, comes to you, they put that Band-Aid on your scraped knee and they say, there, this will make it better. Just think of those words. They put the Band-Aid on and they say, this will make it better. No, the Band-Aid's not going to make it better. That's buying you some time. It's covering. It's maybe not making it a sore. But what makes it better? Your body makes it better. Your body knows how to heal and regenerate and repair and regulate itself. It is beautiful. It's gorgeous and it's coordinated. It can do that on its own. Sometimes we need a little bit of help, like a plaster. It can help. But it doesn't make us better. So think of how we've been ingrained in the system for such a long time. And I was there as well. And I'm not completely free of it. I'm not here to say that I'm perfect. I'm your imperfect way shower through this tonight. I've had health challenges. I've been 20 kilograms heavier than I am now. I've been pretty much depressed. I've been a functional alcoholic. I've used recreational drugs more than use, probably abuse and more. And I've trodden a really tough path. I have digestive issues, or had digestive issues. I had skin problems, mood issues, energy issues. If I didn't eat every 3 to 4 hours, I was a grumpy bastard. I certainly was on the path towards aging, and aging quickly, and aging badly, and driving my health down, that my score down. And I was a healthcare professional, and I was doing all the things that I was told I was supposed to do, because that was all based on treating disease, not creating health. I just want to give you that paradigm again. Treating disease is not the same as creating health. Say somebody has high blood pressure, and you put them on a high blood pressure pill. Now, that can be useful. I'm not going to say it's completely wrong. It could help to keep them alive for longer, right? So does it really take their health up, or does it just make them not sick for longer? You could debate that. You could say maybe it takes their health a little bit up. But now maybe I take somebody who is healthy. They're at 8 to 10 out of 10, and I give them that blood pressure pill. Do you think that takes their number up or takes their number down? So I'm taking somebody healthy, and I'm giving them an antihypertensive, a pill for blood pressure, an ACE inhibitor. Do you think that takes their health up or health down? No, health down. Absolutely takes their health down. If it was something that created health, it would take everybody up. And that's the base foundation that I really want to help and deliver tonight. Is how do we view nutrition? How do we view our lives, and then nutrition through that, to take everything up? So everything improves. So if you do need treatment for a condition, it will have more effect. Maybe doing enough of this means maybe you don't need treatment for a condition. So let's take everything up. So how about this? Instead of saying health is just the absence of symptoms, how about this? Health is more than a disease-free interlude. Health is a body toned to maximum performance potential, a clear mind exploding with wonder and curiosity, and a spirit at peace with the world. How about that for a definition of health? Because the word health comes from the Old English word hale, which means whole. Health is wholeness. It is not the absence of symptoms. Now, even the World Health Organization has a definition of that. But did you notice that sick care system still doesn't actually tell us that? The way we operate, the way the system operates with us, the way we operate with it, we still believe that health is the absence of symptoms. That is not true. That's why you get somebody who's apparently healthy and dies of a heart attack, or suddenly gets diagnosed with cancer. You don't suddenly get those things. Those things have been in play for years, probably decades. But because we've had the wrong way of looking at health, or maybe not a useful way of looking at health, we haven't quite got there. So that brings us to the point of weight loss. A lot of people might be on this call because you're looking for weight loss. Now, I'm going to say that weight loss is like the sick care system. You might get some short-term gains. Some people actually do reasonably okay in it, it seems. But how about this? Instead of weight loss, what you're losing, what are you looking to gain? What are you looking to gain? Are you looking to gain lean body mass? Are you looking for a lean gain? Is that what you're actually looking for? Because when you say weight loss, you don't actually tell me what you are looking for. You tell me what you're not looking for. Try and think of this tonight if this is what you're on. Because what's the quickest way to lose, say you're a 70 kg person. What's the quickest way you can lose 20 kgs? What is the quickest way you could lose 20 kilograms? Now, people often say I could have gastric surgery, I could just stop eating. Like those would help you probably, but it's going to take longer than my solution. I'm going to tell you my solution: cut off limbs. Yeah, somebody in the comments had it. You cut off your leg, you're going to lose 20 kgs. You've just lost weight. So if all you're after is weight loss, go cut off a leg. But I bet you that's not what you're looking for. It sounds absurd, but I bet you that's not what you're looking for. So what are you looking for? You're looking to gain something, maybe some leanness. Maybe you're looking to gain some confidence. Maybe you're looking for some self-acceptance. Maybe you're looking for some self-love. Could be any of those. Maybe you're just looking to look good. Cool. If aesthetics drives you, that's beautiful. That's great. Go with it. But let's try and think of what we're looking to gain. Remember that the foundation of all happiness is health. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for something that's going to make us happier, more fulfilled. And I would suggest to you, we're looking for something much more long-term than just weight loss. So if the myth of the sick care system was that not sick equals healthy, the principle of a vitalistic lifestyle that you get to live, you get to choose with intention, is that optimum function equals health. Health is more than the disease-free interlude. To be healthy means a body toned to maximum performance potential, a clear mind exploding with wonder and curiosity, and a spirit at peace with the world. That's what we're seeking, or at least getting to as close to that as we can. Now, your version of 10 is going to be different to mine. Your version of 10 out of 10, or 8 to 10 out of 10, nobody's perfect. I'm like aiming for 10's tough, but that 8 to 10 range is where we're looking to get. It might be different to what it was 5 years ago, a decade ago, but there's still a version of it that you are capable of. Every single one of you listening to me tonight is capable of your own version of that vitality zone. And if you're on this call, I still hope that I'm talking to the right people, because if you're on this call, you're looking to go up, wherever you are, to go up. If you're not looking to go up, then quit the call, because then we're not talking the right language. So that was the first myth of the sick care system. Okay. So now the second myth of the sick care system says that you are a machine, that you are a sum of your parts. I have a specialist for this part, and a specialist for that part, and a specialist for that part. And the specialists never talk to each other because the assumption is we're a machine. The parts don't work together. I hope you can already tell that that's definitely not the case. This has led us in the world of nutrition to this idea that they call nutritionism. So let me get a little wordy with this. Before we get to the wordy bit, imagine you have blind men and they're all put in a room and they're told to describe what's in front of them. And one blind man feels this sharp spear-like thing and he goes, "Oh, I've got a spear." And another man goes, no, it is a big hose, because he's got this big, long, floppy thing. And another man has this wide thing that flaps. He goes, no, I've got a big fan. And another man, no, this is big and solid. This is a wall. The other blind man goes, no, this is big and round. It's a pillar. I've got a pillar. It's not those other things. And a man at the back says, no, I've got this floppy thin thing. It's a rope. If you've heard this parable before, you might know, but if you haven't, each man is describing an elephant. Each person is describing an elephant. And they would bicker amongst themselves that they knew the truth based on a very limited perception of the whole. Now, I'm not claiming to know the truth. I also have a limited perception as the whole. I just hope that some of this perspective is a little bigger than some of that reductionism that your body is a machine thing. This is where nutritionism comes into play. And this is a paradigm that assumes that it's scientifically identified nutrients in foods that determine the value of individual foodstuffs in the diet. So basically, a food is only good as the scientifically identified nutrients in there. Now, there's a massive problem with this idea of nutritionism. It assumes we know all the nutrients in every food. It assumes we know the biochemical makeup of every single thing in every single food. And that is an absolute lie. You ask a biochemist and a scientist, and I've asked many, and I've said, do we know the exact biochemical makeup of an apple? And their answer is, hell no. We don't even know every single biochemical in an apple, all the nutrients in an apple. How can we think that we could then decide what's in a whole diet and what is ideal based on this narrow view? So we're going to take it out and look at a much broader view. So I'm going to describe two concepts now that have dramatically altered the landscape in terms of the science and the approach to nutrition and to health, actually. And this one is probably in the last 2 decades, mainly in the last decade, is this concept of the microbiome. Now, you think that when you're sitting there or standing there listening to me, that you are a human being. You are one animal. Maybe you don't even realize you're one animal. Or they don't even realize you're an animal. But you are actually more, by the number of cells in your body, you are more bacteria than human. By the amount of DNA in your body, you are more bacteria than human by a factor of 10. You have 10 times more bacterial DNA in your body than human DNA. Never mind viruses, which are healthy to have around us, by the way. Never mind fungus and parasites. You have this microbiome. You have this this rich interaction and ecosystem of life within you. And actually, it's not just within you, it's actually around you. It's on your skin, it's in your breath, it's floating around you, it's in your ears. We've found microbiome in the placenta between a mother and a child. We find bacteria where we thought a place was completely sterile. Your microbiome is completely pervasive of you. A lot of it, the most studied things, are in the gut. Now, here's the fascinating thing. They can take humans or mice. They've done it in mice, they've done it in animals, they've done it in humans. You take a person who's overweight and you give them the microbiome of somebody who's lean, and the overweight person can become quite lean just by changing their microbiome. And you take somebody who's obese and you give that one to somebody lean, and guess what? The lean person can get bigger. I'm not saying it's the only determining factor, but these fungus, these bacteria, these parasites, these viruses that live with us, that are part of us, are one big driver of our health and well-being. So we can't be a machine. The other term, so that was microbiome, massively powerful. The next one is epigenetics. If you've never heard of this before, really simple. It can get complex, but I'm going to make it simple to you. The simple thing is, those two rats in front of you, these are called agouti mice. They're not rats, they're mice. These two mice in front of you, called agouti mice, these two are genetically identical. These are two mice bred to be genetically identical. Now, they breed these agouti mice because they come out as yellow and fat and prone to diabetes and prone to cancer. So they're cool to do research studies on. But then a couple of scientists went and they fed the pregnant mum a specific diet rich in B vitamins, specifically for this, and the mice turned out to be all lean. They're genetically identical mice. But one is definitely overweight, one is definitely more prone to chronic diseases, and one is lean and was healthy and they had better neural function, and they were just different mice. And all that happened was they were fed different nutrients when the mother was pregnant. And what it does, epigenetics, easy way to describe it, imagine your gene, your gene structure that tells you how tall you're going to grow and all sorts of different things is my arm. The epigenome, the epigenetics, is the sleeve that covers it. Now, the interesting thing, this is why it's so important, is it can turn it off or turn it on, down-regulated and up-regulated. Now, this is pretty fixed. This doesn't change much during your life or even over generations. It takes a long time to change. This can change dramatically. Because guess what changes it? Your lifestyle. Those stresses and your resistance will decide whether this is expressed or not. Here's how dramatic it can be. These two are twins. There was a Swedish study that went and looked at twins and studied the health differences in genetically identical twins. These two are twins. Guess what one lifestyle is like, and guess what the other lifestyle is like. These guys are twins. And when they looked at these twins, have a look at this one. This is one chromosome. So on the one on the left, you're seeing two yellow things. Yellow color means things are the same between the two. These are from two identical twins. This is the chromosome 17. Yellow color means things are the same. So you can see on the left, things are vastly the same. When you go to the right, green means a little different, blue means a little more different, red means very different. In the space of 47 years, the epigenetics changed massively between these two people. So your genetics are not your destiny. Having a disease-causing gene, I don't think genes cause diseases anyway, that's a different thing, but having a gene that predisposes you to a disease potentially is not the same as having a genetic disease. Less than 5% of diseases are actually genetic in origin. Less than 5. Epigenetics sets you free. How you do your life changes how your genes are expressed. So the myth was that we are machines. But think of it this way. You take a flower. A flower, a plant, essentially needs 3 things. It needs water, it needs sunlight, and it needs soil. If it has water, sunlight, and soil in the right quantities, that flower can bloom. That flower can absolutely bloom. But if I take away one of those things, so say I have a flower and I only give it water and sunlight and no soil, what do you think is going to happen? It gets water and sunlight but no soil. Is it going to bloom? Nah. How about I give it soil and sunlight but no water? Soil and sunlight but no water. Is the plant going to do well? No, it's not. But now from the way we do science, what we do is we take a drooping flower and I go, it's got some soil, let me add some sunlight but no water. And if I take the soil and I put the plant in, I give it some sunlight, but no water, and the plant still droops, I go, oh no, it doesn't need sunlight. Sunlight's not good for plants. Because I'm looking for one factor. And most of science, most of medical science is driven around looking for one single factor. It's the way we've set up almost all of scientific research, is trying to derive things from one factor. Well, so now I've got it in soil. I've tried light, it didn't work. So I take the light away and now I'll give it water. Is it going to bloom? It's got soil and water, but no sunlight. No, it's not. It needs all three. So we are an ecosystem. We need multiple factors to bring things up to help us to really create health. And this is a massive confounding factor. But this is a model. This is a model that I've kind of put together over time. And so you've got those stresses we had, physical, chemical, and mental, the way we move, the way we eat, the way we think. When they come together, we can have not only the way we eat, the move, think, but we can have access to nature, or exposure to nature is incredibly important to us. We need rest and recovery time. That's important. How we breathe, our breath is important to us. Now we're going to dig into more of the chemical stuff, the nutrition stuff. I promise you we're going to dig into that in the second half. But can you see how it is not the be all and the end all? We need all parts. We're going to deal with this tonight. And I'm going to give you ways to be able to dig into the other ones, but we need this one in conjunction with the other ones. Just changing one might not be the solution for you. But if you change this one in the right direction and things don't happen, that just means your body, your beautiful innate intelligence is just waiting for you to add the next thing and the next things. Like that flower is waiting for soil and sunlight and water. We just need to make sure we put it together as an ecosystem. We're not machines. And like an ecosystem, I pull on one thread and it affects the other ones. If I'm eating poorly, do you think my mental and emotional stress and tolerance and resistance and resilience is low? Absolutely. If I'm eating poorly, do you think the structure of my body and how I move is going to be compromised? Absolutely. If I'm not moving well, do you think it's going to affect my mindset and how my body deals with chemicals? Absolutely. You can't tug on one part of the ecosystem without affecting the rest. So in this part of the discussion, it's useful to talk about calories. And I want to get this up front. A couple of people had questions for me on this when they signed up. Do calories matter? How do I calculate calories? Calories I'm eating, calories I'm burning. The answer is yes, they matter, but they probably don't matter in the way you think they do. And there's two reasons for that. Let's talk about the input part. So the input part, how they calculate calories. Say that 10 times fast. How they calculate calories is pretty inaccurate. It's out by as much as 50%. It's out by as much as half. Because what they do essentially is they take a nutrient, they burn it, and they see how much heat it releases. That's a calorific value. Calorie is a measurement of heat, a measurement of energy in the form of heat mainly. So, but that doesn't tell you what happens in the body. And if you get an apple in one season, an apple in another season, or from different places, they might have different amounts of calories. So like how we calculate that coming into our body is not necessarily accurate. That's the input. And how it's used, the output, what we're doing with it is also very different. If you are in a state of what I would call defense and decay, your mental and emotional stress is high, your physical movement's low, you're not eating great food, your body's inflamed, and you're kind of downward on that spectrum of the scores, kind of 5 and below or even lower. And to say you're having your worst of your worst days, and you pick up an apple and you eat it, but your gut's been a mess all day, and it's just like you're just not in a good state. Okay, that's one example. Now we take somebody else who's maybe at 7 or 8, they're having a good day, they've sat down, they've taken some nice breaths, maybe said a grace to center themselves, maybe they're with friends and they're laughing and they've got time to enjoy their meal and they eat their apple. Do you think that those two people, those two bodies, those two people are going to process that apple? Maybe it's exactly the same apple, yeah? But do you think they're going to process that apple in the same way? Doing defense and decay, your body is doing a certain amount of survival processes, intelligent survival processes. But defense over a long term will turn to decay. We often call that the pathway to disease because that diseases come from that pathway down. Defense over time causes decay. And your body's doing certain measures to try and keep you alive. It's raising your blood pressure, it's raising your cholesterol, it's making your attention more short-term. Now, these are all really intelligent things if you're trying to get away from a tiger, but we don't live in the bush anymore. But these same defense patterns are still what's in this ancient biology that we have. And so guess what? If we play that on day after day after day, unlike escaping from the lion or the tiger that happens in minutes or hours, we have this for years, decades. That's very different from what happens when we're doing growth and repair. Your body will be doing very different processes, using those calories in very different ways. So that's why for me, I don't focus on calories, and I don't know that it's necessarily useful. I know lots of people have found some success in there, but there's also a trap in that as well, that you're always stuck on it. Sometimes it's useful to kind of learn portion sizes and get some estimates going, but realize it is no better than an estimate. What matters more, remember, is what happens from the inside out, not the outside in. So, principles of vitalistic lifestyle. We've said optimum function equals health. We've said you're an ecosystem. So let's get to the next myth. So the first myth we covered, we've already covered that. Not sick equals healthy. Optimum function is healthy. Next myth was that you're a machine. Yeah, we covered that. You're not, you're an ecosystem. Third myth is that you're separate from nature. That's the myth we have right now. We look at human animals very differently to how we would look at any other animal. Here in Cape Town, around 2000, there was a ship called the Treasure that ran aground off Dassin Island, just off the coast of South Africa. Now, Dassin Island is a massive colony. It's an island that has a massive colony of penguins and other seabirds. And this oil tanker ran aground, then started spewing oil out into the ocean. And birds were covered in oil. The images of it were horrific and sad. I didn't want to put them all up there because some of them are pretty graphic. But what happened is, they didn't. Do you think any zoologist, biologist in their right mind, ornithologist who went to help the birds would have said, these birds are getting sick because their genes have changed? No, they were in a toxic environment. It was an oil slick. No zoologist in their right mind went and created bird hospitals and gave them bird drugs and bird things and put them back into the toxic, polluted environment. No, what they did in the case of penguins was they took the penguins out, they cleaned them up, they took them a couple hundred kilometers up the coast to a place called Port Elizabeth, they released them into the ocean, they tracked them, and it was an amazing thing on the news day after day, and these penguins swam back up the coast towards Cape Town, and in that about 2-week time period, they managed to clean up a huge amount of the oil slick. There was this big race in time. They had to clean up the environment before the animals got back. So listen to that. Animals, toxic environment, didn't blame the animals. We looked at the environment and cleaned it up. But when we get a sick human in a sick environment, do we even mention the environment? No. We do human hospitals with human drugs. Now, again, those can be absolutely life-saving in the right space. I'm not taking that away, but those treat disease. They do not create health. Treating disease is very different from creating health. Most of the nutritional advice you've been given to you has been done on research on treating disease, not creating health. These are two different things. Creating health will lift you up from your score towards 10, no matter what is happening. So when we look at ourselves as animals, there is this amazing light, this lens that we look through that says nothing in biology makes sense except through the light of evolution. So if we look at ourselves, let's just see what this means. We look at our lineage as human beings. We've been separate from the apes for a long time. We've been scavenging from at least 2.5 million years ago. Then hunter-gatherers came through about 180,000 years ago. We mastered fire way before, around that time. Further back, we had fire. Modern humans, as we would recognize them and say they're absolutely human, only came through about 200,000 years ago. But we've been eating and subsisting off the land of plants and animals for millions of years. It has shaped our biology, it's shaped our genome, it's shaped our epigenome, it's shaped our brains to massive, massive extents. Now, only right at the end here, I'm going to put a light on this. Where's my little red light? Only right at the end here can you see that we started living the way we do. We started generating crops and domesticating animals and crossbreeding crops and things. Now, not all of this is bad, not all of this is wrong, but can you see how small a sliver of time that is? In the light of evolution, this is a blink of an eye. I'm not saying we've had zero change in our evolution during that time, but we've, in the scale of time, we've had very, very little. We've had very, very little change in that time. So for most of our human history, we've had a certain way of living not just eating, but we're focusing on eating. And we've changed it massively at the last second here, and we're expecting our biology to keep up. It just doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way. So I'll give you an example. And there are plenty of these examples. So in 1974, when they went and looked at Native Americans, first people in the Americas, less than 1% of them, when they were living a hunter-gatherer diet still, a lifestyle, less than 1% of them had diabetes. This is 1974. Less than 1% had diabetes. That's pretty darn amazing. By 2011, it was 50%. So in that space of time, which was under 40 years, do you think their genes had changed very much? No, it doesn't happen that quickly. What had changed? The environment had changed. The way they were living had changed. They'd urbanized, they'd westernized, they'd become industrialized. This industrialized lifestyle that we've taken on is what's damaging us. The environment is what's getting us. The environment, those physical, chemical, mental factors, how we're moving, how we're eating, how we're thinking, how we get access to nature, how we rest and restore, how we breathe. These things have changed fantastically, and these are changing how we're expressing health or not expressing health. So let's have a look at some I'm not going to pretend to give you an exact prescription for the healthy 100% diet for you. I hope you've got that for now. I hope your frame of thinking around nutrition has already started to shift. What I do want to give you is I want to give you a template, and this template is based on wild, free humans. What did humans, and when I say humans, I mean modern humans as we would see them, and we're not going back to when we were apes. That doesn't make any sense. It's from when we were humans. What did humans do when they had a choice? Now, you realize that wild, free humans have existed from sea level to about 16,000 feet, from the equator right up to the Arctic Circle. So we've existed in lots of different environments and lots of different conditions where different things are available. So there's no one specific diet for you, but there is a template. From all of this, we can put together a template. And one of the things that fascinated me was you take one camp of people who maybe say they're vegan, and you take the almost opposite camp is people who say they are paleo, so vegans or paleo. You read, and I've been part of both of these communities, by the way. I've done both of these two. You'll read about people who switch from a normal diet to one of these two and have massive transformations in their health. Massive transformations in their health. How can it be if those are so opposite? How can they both be getting massive transformations? And I'm not advocating either one. We're going to take an ancestral model, but there's massive commonalities between them. So let's have a look at what the commonality is between wild, free humans who existed for millions of years, lived to old age on average, and were productive and healthy and very low rates of diseases. So they would have fed on animal products. Now, they wouldn't have had a domesticated chicken and a domesticated cow, but they had the equivalent of that. They would have like an aurochs bull and buffalo and wild fowl would have been available. They might not have had the exact carrots and broccoli and things we have now, but they would have had root vegetables that we would have had. And fish, meat, fish, fowl, some nuts and some seeds, some berries, fruit, veg. That's essentially what it is. We'll go into more detail. Let's just contrast that now, these nourishing traditions. And remember, all of these would have been organic. Glyphosate and all those things didn't exist then. Fertilizers didn't exist in the way that they do now. Let's look at what we're doing now. What are our nourishing traditions? Factory farmed animals, horrific for our health, horrific for the planet, horrific for the animals. The stuff we put on our food to try and make it safe is so toxic that when they spray it on the crops, people have to wear hazmat suits. And it gets sprayed on them. We factory farm animals, and we create franken foods like vegetable oil that are not even a food. They're just great for the cheap food industry because they make a lot of money because they don't cost a lot and they make things tasty. Those are the nourishing traditions we're doing on average. That's what conventional wisdom is giving you now. They're not talking to you about food quality. Where does it come from? How great is it from its source to where you get it? It's that nutritionism. It's when it comes to you in its packaging. If the list of things on the back is okay, the nutrients that you get, that's the quality of the food. No. Quality food comes back to where it's sourced from. Is it biologically appropriate for a human being? And how good is the quality from the beginning onwards? So let's review this. We said optimum function equals healthy. We said we are ecosystems and we are animals. We are not separate. That was the myth, was that we were separate from nature. And that's where we get that nutritionism coming on, because we're not looking at ourselves as animals in an environment. We've got to put things together, integrate them. What a lot of science has done is disintegrate things, and there's usefulness in that. We get a lot of great detail, but without synthesizing and bring it back together, we can get lost. Okay. We're almost 2/3 of the way through. Can you tell me, are you with me? Either raise your hand, put yes in the webinar chat. I know a lot of this has been not just nutrient dense, but information dense. Steve's with us, Carolyn's with us, Jürgen's with us, Miriam's with us, Brenda's with us, Jason's with us, Shayla's with us, Ingrid's with us. Thank you, guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Prasheen's in there, Delene's in there, great. Jennifer's in there, Pam's in there, perfect, great, guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. So let's simplify this. Now, I'm going to, if you are here on this call, you're going to get this sent to you. If you want to take notes while you do this, feel free, but you're going to get this sent to you. It's one of the bonuses, one of the extras. This is called the food matrix. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to list food quality on this side, on the left side. Let me get my little annotator so you can see what I'm pointing at. Okay, so on this axis here, we have food quality. Higher quality goes up, lower quality goes down. On this one, we've got nutrient density. Now, I'm not completely anti-nutrients. No, we want to have stuff that's got lots of nutrients in it. We just don't want to have that as the only determinant of whether a food is good or not. Excuse me. So we've got nutrient density here. Low density on the left, high density to the right. So guess what? High food quality, high nutrient density up here is what we would call a wise choice. We want to maximize these in our lives. When it's okay on density, but good on quality, that's a moderation choice. Yeah, we can have that. We don't want too much of it because it's going to crowd out the stuff that's higher density, but yeah, why not? Now, if we have things that are high density, but moderate quality, this is a gray area. I'm not going to pretend to say yes or no. I'm going to tell you what kind of foods fit in there. And sometimes the answer is, do you tolerate this well? And if we have low density choices with low quality, we use the word ignorant choices there. Not to say stupid. Ignorant just means lacking in information, lacking in knowledge. So if we have that, obviously we want to try and stick in this top right quadrant, or maybe even the top left one. You can dabble in that area. These ones we would minimize. Now, again, I'm not going to pretend to be a saint. I said I'm your imperfect way shower. I'm not perfect on this. And I'll be quite frank and honest with you how we go through things and how we do things. But if you stick to these smart choices, you could be slim, smart, and youthful. These foods, these nourishing things, the food and drink that we take in will help us to be slim, smart, and youthful. And on the bottom, stupid, fat, and decrepit. Now, I know this might seem harsh, but I actually got these words. I was thinking about this the other day. Where did I get these? I was talking to a group of Cubs and Scouts, boys and girls, so girl guides as well, brownies and guides, and they were between the age of about 18 to 13. And I said, what would you call it if you did that? And we came with these three words: slim, smart, and youthful. And at the bottom, stupid, fat, and decrepit. These were their words. These are the kids talking to us, telling us what these choices actually mean. So these ones, let's call them nutrients, because these are nourishing. These are feeding us. These are feeding our innate intelligence to give us growth and repair and vitality. These ones I'd actually call toxins. Now, I've put this forward to some scientists before and some health journalists and others, and they go, no, you can't call it a toxin because it's not actually killing you. Oh, rubbish. I think that's too vague. Nutrients and toxins. Let's make it simple. Let's make it really simple. These things are taking us down the score, down towards zero. These things are taking us up. That's a nutrient. That's a toxin. Great. So let's see what fits in these different places. So up in the top right, in the nutrients, meat, fish, fowl, eggs, vegetables, herbs, and spices. Done. We can have a whole conversation about meat and fish and fowl and eggs, and ethics and all sorts of stuff will come into that around veganism or vegetarianism and having meat, carnism, they call it. Like, is that appropriate? When I look at the evidence, every human culture, when given the choice, from as far back as we can get records to now, included some element of animal matter in their diet. Hell, even chimpanzees do. Now, we are genetically distinct from chimpanzees. We are very different. We have a different gut shape to them. We have a different gut shape to the other apes. We are not meant to be only vegetarians because we're different. Now, did some cultures have a lot of animal products? Yep. Did some have very little? Yep, absolutely. But they all had some. When given the choice, they all had some. And remember, animals in their natural environment, really, really healthy. So wild humans in their natural environment, making good choices. And these moderation choices, because these are modern breeding processes we put into place, that these might be high quality, but the nutrient density might be low. They might be kind of like high in sugars. That's why that's a moderation choice. Okay. Gray area, ancient grains, pseudo grains. So maybe wheat, we'll go through that in a sec, is definitely a toxin, but maybe amaranth or spelt or buckwheat or quinoa, these kind of things might go here. And some nuts and some legumes. Some people don't tolerate nuts and legumes very well. And then in the bottom, toxins, sugars, vegetable oils, alcohol, conventional dairy, industrialized grains. I'm not saying I'm a saint and have zero of those, but certainly minimize them. Certainly I'm looking out for them reading food labels. We'll talk about reading food labels in a second. I don't have zero alcohol. We'll talk about alcohol in a second, but certainly not a huge amount. And on a lot of this, the evidence is quite clear. Okay, so let's look through these. Let's dig into it now. This is the part that's like information heavy. I'm giving you a lot of the what in this third of our time together. Remember, in the first 2/3 we gave you the why. I hope the why is getting strong. I'm going to keep going on that. We spoke a little bit about how, reprogramming how we're thinking about things with these myths of the sick care system. But let's get into some of the what. Sugar. I hope I don't need to explain how horrible sugar is. If you're on this, I'm assuming you're a seeker. You've been looking at this knowledge for a long time. But what sugar does to you is just terrible. I'm not even going to delve into it to a huge degree with you. What I am going to do is show you the hidden names of sugar in disguise, and I'm going to send this to you. You don't have to write this all down. But these are the different ways that sugar can be hidden in there in foods. So you're going to get this. Because you're on with us on the call, you will get this as a bonus. Sugar in disguise. No good. Wrecks your brain, inflames your arteries, punches hole in your gut, leads to dysbiosis. That microbiome is thrown into absolute havoc when we throw sugar into the system. It plays with our brain. We're going to talk about that in a moment. There's just a lot that goes on and goes wrong when we've got sugar in the system. Next one is industrialized dairy. Now, there's been a ton, and I will struggle to put a number to this, but there has been a huge amount of marketing done over the years by the dairy industry to convince you that you are lacking calcium and you need milk for calcium. But the problem is that you can get calcium from lots of other places. And milk's not even the best way to get it. Industrial dairy that we get it from is taken from cows that have been hormone-fed, antibiotic-ridden. They are kept in conditions that keep them producing milk even when they should. That goes against biology. The milk is then homogenized and pasteurized, which might have some value to stopping diseases. I can get why it's there, but that destroys a massive amount of nutrient quality. So some dairy is actually having to be fortified with things like vitamin D and calcium, the very things that they've been marketing it to you for. Not to mention that you get this compound called IGF-1 that comes through in dairy, insulin growth factor 1 that comes through in dairy, that is highly mitogenic. It causes lots of cell proliferation to happen and is strongly linked with everything from, not everything, but for a lot of things, from ear infections and tonsillitis to certain types of cancers. What we're getting in industrial dairy is not great. Now, if you could get access to raw dairy, and I know some places it's illegal to sell, so please check your law on this, but that might have more value than industrial dairy. I'm not going to say don't have it. I know of lots of people who've said that they can't have any dairy. Some people actually thought they were lactose intolerant completely, and they got raw dairy, or they got dairy from more ancient breeds of cattle. It's the casein type, the protein type is different, alpha 1 and alpha 2. And things are better. So that's a whole talk on its own. So I'm just letting you know that industrial dairy is probably more of a toxin. If you want to experiment with some of the other things, you can. Now, what I'm going to give you tonight at the end is I want to give you the simplest way to go through navigating the stuff. Because if you have to make these minute choices every single day, you hit decision fatigue and we just bomb out. That's where you have 4 good days and 1 bad day and you throw it all in. You know what I mean? Or you've been doing good, you've been on your diet for 2 weeks and you have 2 bad days and then you go, to hell with it, and it all blows up. That's decision fatigue that we hit. I want to help you with rules of thumb, heuristics, guidelines that help you to make easier choices. And sometimes 100% is easier than 90%. And what that means is just having the rule of having none of it is much easier than saying, oh, I'll have a little bit of it, because then you have to decide every time whether this fits into the 90%. So you make decision after decision after decision after decision after decision, and you hit fatigue and then just go back to your old ways. You've all done that before, so have I. But if we say 100% is better than 90% and we just go, I'll make the decision once and I don't do it, that's amazing. So that's what we're doing. Industrialized grains. Grains are the darling of the food industry. They are cheap to produce. They can produce the right kind of chemicals and factors that are hormonally and neurologically addictive. WGA, wheat germ agglutinin, one of the things in wheat, has actually bonds to the opioid receptors in your brain, the same thing that morphine bonds to. No wonder that's going to be kind of rattling around your brain, why it's so hard to quit something like bread. That's just one example of what happens with industrialized grains. They are hugely genetically modified. They have huge amounts of chemicals in them. The farming that goes into making industrialized grains is massively damaging to the environment. By and large, when you do this stuff and you start eating better for your body, you're also eating better for the environment. When you eat better for you, you eat better for everybody. I've got a list of grains, and mainly the wheat grains in disguise here, or the gluten-containing grains in disguise. And again, this is a list that you're going to get, because they're sneaky. The food industry is sneaky. They will hide this stuff away from you. So alcohol's an example of something to talk about, of something that a puritanical view on it, have saying absolutely none, doesn't really work. Let's just get some of the facts out. Alcohol is a carcinogen. It is a cancer-causing chemical. No bones about it. It impairs judgment. Who knows how much domestic violence is attributed to it, how much road accident is attributed to it, how much injury is attributed to it. So it is a drug. If we can admit that it is a drug, and then we can also say that you feel free to use this drug any way you want to, as long as you realize it is a cancer-creating drug that is mind-altering properties. We're adults here. We get to make our own decisions. I'm not going to impose values on you. I like a nice little bit of wine every now and again. I used to like a lot more, which was not good. So I'm not a teetotaler, but certainly we joke at home, and if we open a bottle of red wine, often it's a waste if it's just my wife and I, because we don't finish the bottle before it goes off. We can enjoy it, but it's just, we enjoy a little bit. So please be aware of this. Please be aware of here's one thing to be aware of is, do you feel like you need a drink in an evening to unwind? Do you feel like you need a drink in an evening to unwind? If you are there, if you are needing a drink to unwind, I'm going to suggest that your relationship with alcohol isn't as healthy as you might think it is. You are dependent on a drug. Remember, that's an outside-in process. We want to be able to do this stuff from the inside out. So this can be a tricky one for a lot of people. Here's what I'd recommend. I do this in the practice with the people that we serve, is from time to time when it comes up, I would encourage people to do 30 days no booze and just notice the difference in their sleep. Straight away, everybody notices sleep is much better. They notice energy is much better. They notice lots of inflammatory processes like aches and pains and digestive issues tend to go down. And there's a massive shift. Now, the really interesting thing that they notice is when they're doing these 30 days is the people around them keep trying to make them drink. Isn't that funny? They'll go to a braai or a barbecue. For those watching from outside of South Africa, they'll go to a barbecue or a braai, and they'll say, no, I'm not drinking for the next 30 days. I'm just doing an experiment. I'm going to have some water or whatever they want to have. And the amount of people that'll go at them for not drinking, oh, come on, just have one. Oh, that guy's talking rubbish. Just have one. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. The visceral, emotional reaction from everybody else when one person decides not to drink tells a massive story about our relationship with this stuff as a culture. In South Africa, when alcohol's been banned under the COVID lockdown rules, and the reactions that come out, and I'm not saying whether that's right or wrong, I don't pretend to know the answer to that, but I just know that the reactions from people are fascinating. It tells you a lot about their relationship with this as a chemical in their lives. Vegetable oils are massively inflammatory. A vegetable oil like sunflower oil or canola oil are classic examples. If you squeeze a sunflower seed, have you ever tried to squeeze a sunflower seed and get oil out of it? Yeah. Have you ever tried? Not much oil coming out of a sunflower seed unless you add chemicals and solvents and all sorts of stuff to that process. They come out highly rich in omega-3, in omega-6s, which become massively inflammatory in our system. These are Franken foods. Hydrogenated vegetable oils are massive in the food industry. These are not what we want. Now, on the food table that I'm going to show you in a sec, and we're going to send to you, it's going to show you which oils you want to cook with, which ones at high heat, which ones at low heat, which ones at medium heat. I'm going to send that to you. You're going to get the ones that you can use. So don't just take it as I'm telling you not what not to do. I've given you a ton of what you can do, and we're going to send you this. So let's go through the 4 myths of the sick care system here. Not sick equals healthy. That was myth number 1. Myth number 2 was that you were a machine. Myth number 3, that you were separate from nature, remember? And myth number 4, this is probably the biggest myth and the most powerful myth, and I've saved it for last. Myth number 4 is that you are innately broken. Myth number 4 says that you are fundamentally flawed and you are designed to break down and you need help from the outside in just to be able to live. That there is a pill, a lotion, a potion, something that you need to be able to be healthy. Remember, the best intentioned parent putting that band-aid, that plaster, that band-aid on a child's knee, saying, there, this will make it better. What does that psychologically impute? What does that tell that child? That their body needs a plaster in order to heal. Now, don't get me wrong, I'll give my girls plasters if they need them, and they love them, especially when they've got characters on them. But as much as we can, we'll try and keep that away. And we try and reframe that in our version of parenting, which again is not perfect. As soon as it's an owies, we talk about it, it's being a healing. What's your body doing? Oh, it's a healing. Oh, is it sore? Yeah, it can be sore. It can be a sore healing, absolutely. And then there's a mantra that we teach our girls, and they repeat this. And I tell this to my people, the practice members in my practice. I tell this to myself all the time. Your body's strong, your body's smart, your body knows how to heal. Your body's strong, your body's smart, your body knows how to heal. You're not innately broken. You are innately intelligent. There is an innate intelligence within your mind body that is helping you to move towards 10, that is doing everything it can to get you up towards 10 out of 10. Our lifestyle might be pushing us down and forcing that innate intelligence to do defense, and defense can become decay. But that is the best attempt that our mind body has to adapt to this rapidly changing environment from our ancient biology. Now, I'm not pretending that we need to go back and live on a mountain and live in a loincloth and try and eat just from the land. Some people might want to do that. That historic romanticism, I think, is a false narrative. I don't think that works. I don't think that's what we need. We live in a modern age. Great, let's live in a modern age. Is there some ancient wisdom we can tap into? Sure. Let's bring that. Let's have both. I like my Mac computer. I like my flushing toilet. I don't want to go and live in the past. I want to live now. It's a great time to be alive. More abundance than ever. Less people living in poverty than ever. More people above the breadline than ever. It doesn't always seem like that because the news doesn't always want to tell you that. It's a great time to be alive. Challenging, but great. And can we honor our ancient biology? Can we honor the lineage that we've come from and just listen to it a bit? Can we be quiet? Can we just still ourselves? Can we just listen to biology? We don't have to technologically master nature. We can live with it. So here are some, I've given you a lot of what to do's. Yeah. And I'm going to send you those, the food matrix. I'm going to send you the food table. I'm going to send you the hidden names of sugar and the hidden names of wheat. So let's get into some of the how-tos. So how would you do different? How would you start to implement this change in your life? So remember I spoke about the person eating the apple in a defense process, a defense and decay state versus somebody in a growth and repair state. Somebody who's eating while they're at the table, at work, at their computer, the boss has been shouting at them, they're over deadline, they just need a bite to eat. Their body is going to deal with that food very differently from that person who's taken some time out, is chilling with some friends. Those are two very different states to have on the inside, and your body will deal with those nutrients coming your way very differently. So how about mindful eating? It can be as simple as saying grace. Now, you don't have to be religious to say grace. You can just do some gratitude, gratitude, gracias, for the farmers that planted the thing that you're eating and grew the animal that you're eating. And you can thank the animal for coming to your plate. Like, our girls know that when they have chicken, it was a chicken and it lived on a farm. And then the chicken had to die for it to come to their plate. It's not a morbid thought. It's part of nature. It's part of the natural cycle. All predators, all scavengers have to have something die before they eat it, and it gives them life. And then it goes into the soil and it gives everything else life. It's a natural part of life. Now, can we honor it? Yes. Can we not hide it away? Yes. Can we find more humane ways of doing it? Oh, no, I hope so. But we can do gratitude for that plate in our food. If you are spiritual, religious, and you want to do grace to a higher power, beautiful. But just a state of gratitude is amazing, from shifting us from defense to growth, from decay towards more vitality. And if you can do that before every meal, I would bet that if we figure out how to study this, your body would deal with those chemical constituents, those nutrients, and that energy coming in much better. So there's this concept called food porn that always puts a smile on people's faces when it comes up. But we've evolved over time. This idea of evolution comes through again, and I'm going to talk about some different animals, not just humans now. There's a type of goose that lays an egg with very specific speckled patterns on it. And these specific speckled patterns, they figured out, are actually a stimulus to make the goose sit on the egg and incubate it so that the egg can hatch. So this is vital to it growing its child, which is probably the most basic biological drive available, is improving your offspring. So if they take a beach ball, these researchers, sneaky researchers, if they take a beach ball and they paint an exaggerated version of those speckles on the beach ball, this goose will leave its egg to rot and die while it's trying to incubate a beach ball and falling off all the time and looking like an absolute idiot. You can have a stimulus. You can hijack the stimulus. The speckles on the egg was a visual stimulus. You can hijack that, put it on a beach ball, exaggerate it, and it'll tap into this ancient biology of this bird and hijack it and twist it and subvert it, and it'll let its own offspring die while it's looking like an idiot on a beach ball. You can take a beetle and make it mate with a beer bottle and not another beetle by exaggerating some of the stimuli, the visual and the chemical stimuli of this beetle in a beer bottle. So we have this innate drive to search for certain things. So an example is sweet things. When we were wild-free humans, sweet things came with lots of nutrients. Fruit came with lots of nutrients. We didn't get by much sweet fruit. It didn't exist the way it exists now. So sweet meant nutrients. Sweet meant not much of, because you didn't get a ton of it. So guess what? That's a stimulus. If we subvert the stimulus, if we hijack it, we can make ourselves do silly things. And that's exactly what, if we talk about porn and kind of porn as it relates to sex, that's exactly what porn is. It is a stimulus which we are biologically geared to have, that when it's done right, has a nourishing quantity to it. When it's done in a relationship, it is nourishing and it is good. But when we strip it of all that nourishment, we exaggerate it, we're stripping it of all of its redeeming values. Guess what happens? You end up with porn. But that's what we do with food. We take these nourishing things with these certain stimuli, we shred those stimuli, we take it away from nourishment, and now we're left with that. And our brains, our neurology is almost helpless to this. We call it a supernatural stimulus. And your willpower, especially when we've said like you've had to make decision after decision after decision and your willpower drains, your willpower is powerless to super stimuli, to food porn. So one of the goals is, one of those clear delineators is just get rid of it. Just absolutely get rid of it. Sugar, conventional wheat, salt, fat, and sugar in certain combinations, artificial flavors, artificial colorants. That's just some of them. That's not all of them. But we will make foods taste in a certain way. It hijacks these pathways. And these are the same pathways that give us reward pathways that make us want to have more nourishing things in our life, but now it's exaggerated. So this is almost the same as an addictive quality to something like drugs. So we just avoid those at all costs, because they will hijack you in your weakest moments. How about the way we eat? In between each meal, having a period of 4 hours plus, 4, 8, 12, sometimes 24 hours, where your body doesn't have to be processing food. If you're constantly processing food, your body is just putting away this energy and these excess calories that come in. We're putting them away. But if we eat, stop, and then eat later, we give our body a chance to process through things and move through a lot of those issues. And then your biology enters into a different phase. This is where I'm not saying you have to. Intermittent fasting can be very useful, but even just making sure you're not snacking in between meals, shifting to 2 meals a day instead of 3. Sometimes these can be very valuable. There is definitely a place to be having 3 squares a day. And if you snack a lot, then snacking less. But if you need to snack through the day, or if you've been told to eat frequent small meals, you're treating the puddle on the floor. You're not fixing the leak in the roof. A human being, when we're functioning up at 8 to 10 out of 10, should easily be able to go 24 hours without eating with no ill effects. Now, if you're low down and your biology is really deranged and your hormones are all messed up, you might not be able to do that. It might be dangerous to do it. You might need a professional to help you to get to that point. But having gaps in between eating where there's nothing else coming in, get used to the idea of hunger. Like, you're not ruled by your hunger. There's an illusion to that you're hungry most of the time. Well, you're not. And the last one, I'll tell you what the first 2 letters mean. Read the, then there's F, and the last word is label. You can decide what F means. Read the effing label. When I say the label on the food, if it comes in packaging and it has a label, read the effing label. Now, I'm not saying the label, so like assume everything on the front of that packaging is a lie, marketing lie. No matter how good you think it is, no matter how much you might trust them, assume it's a marketing lie on the front. You turn to the back of the label and you get that table of fats, carbohydrates, all those things. Ditch that. Assume that's a lie as well. Assume it's meaningless. You lift open the flap and then, like in small writing, is the ingredients list. That's the effing label you're looking to read. That's where you find out whether this is a high quality or a low quality food, is the ingredients label. And here, if you want the easiest choice, the easiest thing that would change your life, is if you read the label, and that label has more than 3 ingredients, or 3 or more ingredients, more than 3 ingredients, put it down and move on. Go to the fresh produce aisle, find something that's not in packaging. If you just did that one thing, that would shift your health and your life. That would move you up towards 10. If you just did mindful eating, that would shift you up towards 10. If you just did eat, stop, eat, that would shift you up towards 10. If you just did a photo diary for 7 days, it would transform the way that you thought about your own nutrition. Photo diary, very simple. Your camera, everybody's smartphone has a camera on it. Even my dad now has a phone with a camera on it. What you do for 1 week, I challenge you, if you wanted to do this, for 1 week, you take a photo of every single thing that passes between your lips, whether it's a cigarette or a pill or water or food, whatever passes between your lips, take a photo of it. And during that week, you will become astounded. And I've done this multiple times, and I do this with groups when we work through with people. You will surprise yourself at the amount of stuff going through, the amount of stuff that's going through unconsciously. You will astound yourself. And you'll be so aware of it, you won't help but be able to change. Conscious consumption. You become conscious of your consumption. Massively powerful. So this is the food table that I'm going to send to you. It's got different protein choices, different veggie choices, different fats, cooking at high heat or sauteing or after cooking, and then it's got herbs and spices. Great. You put this together, there's about 40,000 different combinations of meals that you can have. You cannot tell me you can't think of something if you put this together with 40,000 combinations of meals. Okay, let's touch on supplements. We've got a few moments left. Here's the gig on supplements. They are supplementary, hence the name, supplements. They are supplementary. Ideally, we would be able to get all the nutrients we need from high quality food sources that are processed as little as possible. That's the definition of high quality. Appropriate for a human being and processed as little as possible. We would be able to get all the supplements we need. All the nutrition we need. Now, in an industrialized society, maybe that's not always so easy. So supplements can be useful. But here's the problem. If I have a house that has a crack in its foundation, and I'm getting cracks going up the walls, and I'm trying to put a picture over a crack in the wall, I'm not fixing the problem. I might be making it less visible, I might be making it look pretty, but I'm not fixing the problem. I still have a crack in my foundation. If a supplement is just covering something on the wall, you need to fix the foundation first. We want to get it from real food first. That is the first place you want to get it. If you can't get it from real food, or it's really hard, or that food is tainted, then supplementing can be useful. But remember, it is supplemental. So if the foundation's good, what can often happen is some supplements work for some people and supplements work for other people. It's like decorations on a house. So there's a little bit of self-experimenting that goes on there. I'll tell you that most of the stuff on the shelves in your chemist or your health food store, most of it, in my experience, my opinion, is an expensive urine maker. I think that's what most of it is, especially since we should be able to get most of it from food. Now, I get that our food soil is not nearly as good as it was. So the nutrients in the foods are much worse than they used to be. I get that, I do. I still think we can get a lot more of it from food. So here's a list. And again, I'm going to send this to you. These three above the line, omega-3s, vitamin D3 with vitamin K if you can, and probiotics, I would say that in modern nutrition, these are absolutely essential for virtually everybody every day for life. Unless you're eating cold water fatty fish or grass-fed beef and you're getting the fattiest cuts of it at least 3, 4, maybe 5 times a week, you're probably deficient in omega-3. Unless you're getting sunshine on your body, on 80% of your body at least, virtually every day, enough that your skin just changes tone a little bit. You don't have to be dark, 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 but just so your skin tone changes a little bit, you're probably deficient in vitamin D. And probiotics, we've massively sanitized our lives, which has been massively useful in some ways, but also we've over-sanitized lives. And this is one of my real concerns with the age of COVID now is, are we going to go to hyper-sanitization again? Where I told you before that we are naturally supposed to be this environment of microbiome, of loads of bacteria and virus and fungi and parasites and all these things that are supposed to live with us in a certain commensurate relationship. So that's why probiotics are useful. Now, there's a whole thing we could do just on the gut and on healing the gut, and probiotics and prebiotics and which foods to have. That would be useful, but this has been the baseline. Now, the rest of these supplements, for the purpose of this workshop, I've taken from published peer-reviewed literature on how to improve immune function relative to the COVID virus, to SARS-CoV-2. So that's what the literature says. I will send this to you. I'll put the link to that literature on the page that I send it to you on, so you can go and do your own research on that. I've put question marks next to vitamin A and vitamin E. These are fat-soluble vitamins. If you are pregnant or if you have liver problems, these might be a bit of an issue for you. Please be aware of that. I'm not playing your doctor here. This is not a prescription. This is for educational and information purposes. Please be aware when you do this, and actually anything that relates to what we've gone through tonight. Now, last few things in closing. When I tell people, after all of this, I tell people that when I'm consulting with people day to day in my office, and that's what I've been doing for 15 years, I actually don't consult on nutrition like this. And some of you on the call actually come and see us. And so you realize that I don't consult on nutrition like this. And there's a very specific reason. I almost stopped what I was doing as a chiropractor to go into the range of doing something like nutrition full time. But here's what stops me. When you're trying to eat good food, that is like putting water in the bucket, putting it in. When you're trying to get good exercise and move your body, you're trying to put water into a bucket. You're trying to fill your health bucket. When you're trying to manage stress, or you're trying to do meditation, or you're trying to do yoga, Pilates, go for a run, eat a salad, you're putting water in your health bucket. And we're hoping that it fills up this health bucket and we are healthier. And we're hoping that health leads us to more happiness, which it absolutely can. Here's my problem. What happens if you have holes in your bucket? What happens if your bucket has a leak in it? And all the stuff you're doing to pile in and put things into the bucket is being subverted in a way that's almost invisible to you by leaks in your bucket. So when I looked at it this way and I realized that this was happening for me and for the vast majority of people that are out there, that this is exactly what's happening. Because what happens is we put in these raw materials into the bucket, and it's your nervous system that decides how well they are used. It's your nervous system that decides whether you are in rest and digest, or whether you're in defense and decay or growth and repair. That is determined by your nervous system, your brain, your spinal cord, your nerves that coordinate and regulate everything in your body, every cell in your body, from your immune function to how you digest foods, to how you balance hormones, to how you digest things. It all goes through the nervous system. So think of it this way. If your nervous system has some compromise to it, that means it's not functioning. It's only functioning at 60% efficiency. But you've got, say, the 100% best diet in the world. Imagine you figured out what the 100% best diet for you was. 100% best diet, 60% nervous system. How much benefit do you think you're getting from that food? You're not getting 100%, because only 60%, it's only getting processed at an efficiency of 60%. So if we can look at either of those two to improve, this one is the first one to improve. You stop the holes in the bucket. It makes everything else you're doing better already. That is what we do as chiropractors. We assess the structure of the spine to see how it might be interfering with the nerves between the brain and the body. And if there is interference, it can absolutely be putting your body into a more defense and decay state, which is going to change how things work dramatically. Dramatically. And this is the journey we take people on. Help them to get stabilized, help them to repair and regenerate, and then help them to optimize. Now, certainly, do we talk about lifestyle factors? Absolutely. But chiropractic is not just for this, the aches and the pains. We're great at that. We have people, specialists who refer people to us for back pain, neck pain, headaches, and injuries. We're absolutely amazing. We do that really, really well. But realize it's more than that. Chiropractic can help you to live a bigger life. It can be a force multiplier to help you to get more out of the stuff you're already doing before you try and add new things in there. That's why I focus on that spine and that nervous system, and creating growth and repair, or helping the body to create growth and repair. And then we can start adding things into the system, because you get more bang for your buck. But putting more water into a leaky bucket is not a great long-term strategy for improving health. So I said that there's a couple of mystery gifts, and I've told you about some of them already. So here's the last one for tonight for you as we're wrapping up. I wrote this book called Thrive, only for those who want to be healthy. I hope it's not too pretentious a title, only for those who want to be healthy. But you're on the call. So the book has three main sections. The first section gets into the why, the 4 myths of the sick care system. It gets into your headspace and your beliefs about why you've been operating the way you've been operating. Remember, we said that is the most valuable layer. Why? Our beliefs, our psychology around what we do. Because that then determines what we actually go and do. So let's get that right first. Then we talk about the art and the science of lifestyle change. Through lots of research, through lots of first-hand experience of seeing people succeed and fail. Nice section on the art and science of lifestyle change. And then we talk about chiropractic is in there, and we talk about lifestyle. How you eat, how you move, how you think, and what to do to change it. Loads of resources in there. Okay, so that's the book. It has been available in bookstores since it was launched in 2016. This is at Exclusives, right next to Tim Ferriss's book. That was pretty cool. Patrick Holford's book was pretty cool. There's another copy. Thrive is in there. So been in some of the best places. Been in bookstores. That was my daughter when she saw Dad's book in the bookstore. So it's been available there. Now the beautiful thing is, from having that exposure, we managed to cover our production costs. The costs of producing a book, which are not small, were covered. We managed to do that in the last few years, and that was when the book was being retailed at $349. So now I have taken it upon myself to make sure that this information gets to as many people as possible. So for the 4 myths of the sick care system, why you're doing what you're doing, to how you want to make change, to what you need to do differently, is not $349. It's free. I'm giving the physical book is free. All I'm asking people to do is to cover the shipping. If you're in the Western Cape in South Africa, it'll get to you in 2 or 3 days max. Costs you 99 Rand. In the rest of South Africa, 149 Rand. The rest of the world depends on which region you're in. But we will get that sent to you. The actual book is free. I'm not charging you for the book at all. It's just covering the shipping costs. So if you go to thrivebook.co.za now, it's live. You can go there now. Now, I will tell you that because COVID, our printer is running at diminished capacity. So we have 20, maybe 30 copies in stock. And I don't know when we're getting the next stock in. We've ordered them, but they can't tell me when they're coming in. So if you want to get a copy, if you haven't got a copy yet, please go to thrivebook.co.za and place your order so you can get it. I don't know when we're getting our next set of books. So that's thrivebook.co.za. You'll get your free book. I promise you, you're not paying for the book, just the shipping. From our suppliers to us and then from us to you. So here's my question for you to end tonight. You gave yourself a score earlier in the night. You put yourself on that scale between 0 and 10. Is there something you could do differently from now, from tomorrow, that would take your score up, even just by one, even just one jump up? Is there one thing you can do differently? Have you learned something tonight that could shift you in a new direction? That's my first question. And my second question is, are you willing to do it? Have you suffered enough to start doing something differently? Now, you might be doing lots of things differently, and this might be another new feather in your cap on your path forward. That's beautiful. This might be the impetus to start to make major change. And whether it's major change in nutrition, or whether you saw this thing about chiropractic care and you'd like to find out more. Actually, I didn't tell you that. If this chiropractic thing was interesting to you at all, just put the word more down in the webinar chat, and I'll make sure I'll reach out to you personally and try and find a recommendation close to you so you can or ask some questions of it without any strings attached. That'd be the equivalent of coming to ask me a question after a talk. So if you want to, just put the word more in the chat box, and I'll gladly help you with that. If you want to know more about chiropractic care, vitalistic chiropractic care, to help you live your bigger life. So first question to you is there something differently you could be doing that would move your health up? And my second question to you is, are you willing to do something different? In the chat box now, if the answer to that is yes and yes, pop that in the chat box now. Unfortunately, we're way over time, so I'm not going to be able to handle questions now. But if there's something different you want to be able to do, that you can do, that you figured out from this, that you're willing to do, get some yeses going in the box. If your answer isn't yes now, no judgment on that, but explore why that might be the case. Explore why maybe you're not ready. And that will start leading you to some beautiful answers. So we're getting some yeses come through beautifully from there. And remember, if you want to find out about how vitalistic chiropractic care can help you, not just through aches and pains and stresses and strains, which it absolutely can, but help you get up, just pop the word more in the chat box, and I'll make sure that I reach out and help you with that. Now, I hope you've had more of a pivotal experience than a jacuzzi experience. I don't think I'm as good enough entertainer to give you jacuzzi experiences. I hope I can do enough to give you a pivotal experience. You've shared over an hour and a half with me tonight. I'm deeply appreciative of your time, of your energy, of your effort. If you're still on the call now, you are a seeker. Actually, most people are still on the call. Almost nobody's dropped off. That's amazing. You are a seeker. You are seeking a better life for yourself. And the amazing thing is, the more you improve your own existence, the more you're improving the existence of people around you. The more you're letting your light shine, the more you're unconsciously giving other people permission to let their light shine. From the inside out, health comes from the inside out. Don't fall for the traps of the sick care system. That's beautiful. It's useful when you need it. But for creating health, it starts from the inside out. It starts with you. It starts now. It starts with every single choice that you make. Thank you, thank you, thank you for spending your time with us tonight. I hope you get the idea that I love what I do and I do this. And if people weren't there, I wouldn't get to do it. So I deeply appreciate your time with us tonight. Thank you very, very much. Have a fantastic rest of your evening or your day, wherever you are in the world. And if you're watching this recorded, thank you very much for being with us. And I hope to see you soon. Watch out for other webinars we'll have coming. We're going to get into webinars on fitness. Our next one is called Fit for Life. I'm going to send links for you to that soon. It's going to be in the end of next month. And we're going to be doing a few more of these going through. COVID's kind of kicked our ass in gear to do these a little bit more regularly. Thank you very, very much. Watch your email for your special free gifts that'll come through. Have a fantastic evening and keep strong. Keep moving up towards 10. Thank you.